Hey everyone, Ivan Bluko here. Today we're going to continue our What If I Was Reborn as a Saiyan and Parks was Reborn as a Namekian series with the Majin Buu saga. Now, before we get into the Majin Buu saga, let's talk about a lot of changes that will go on in between the stories. First, Piccolo would have unlocked his potential and fused with Kami. Now, this would make him, very powerful. He wouldn't be, in his super levels of power, but he'd be way more powerful in general. I'd say he'd be, Super Saiyan God Goku level, at least, at this point. And he would be training by himself, so he'd have a lot less gains compared to, Delta and me training together constantly. For their high school gift, I'd give the Super Saiyan God ritual to Aura and Starry so they can start their journeys onto mastering Super Saiyan God. Now, they don't have blue mastered like I do, but they would have the regular red. The kids would be finally going to high school together with Gohan. And they'd be very popular. Aura would be the spunky, extroverted tomboy who is very open about who she is, and be wearing all the most fashionable outfits and dresses because, clothes beam. She can just wear all the cool stuff she wants. Starry would be a more quiet, reserved, polite man that wouldn't be getting into fights as much. Sure, he'd be a Saiyan, but he was raised with more manners, so he'd be a lot more quiet. But he would see if he sees any bullying, he would handle it instantly. Luna would be more dressed in suits and dress pants. She'd have a more cool girl type of style because, well, she likes those outfits, and it would be more efficient for combat, seeing as the last time they fought somebody was Cell. I'd say they'd be more powerful than Krillin. Wouldn't be Super Saiyan Blue God level Krillin from Super. But they would be powerful. They'd be I'd say Namek to Cell Saga levels, easy. Then you got Zena, who would honestly have more of a delinquent type of style, only because she doesn't really like the buttons and such being so tight on her shirt, leaving them a little open, and doesn't like neckties because they would be choking her neck. But most people would think that'd be more of a delinquent, and she would. But the group would be very popular at the school. Gohan would see that they were acting superheroes for quite a while, and most people would just be accepting that. They'd be celebrating it because it'd be fun. Since Mr. Satan wasn't wasn't the guy that defeated Cell in this timeline, that they're the talk of the town, with Videl being a lot less important as a crime fighter. Aura and Starry would have their tails at school, and a lot of the kids at first would think that that's funny and think that's weird, kids with tails. But with how Aura and Starry would become popular with the students, they would eventually come to see that that's actually pretty cool. And Aura would show the tricks she can do, how her tail works as a third arm, and she can even stand on it and do cool tricks with it, and even use it for anything else, which would leave Gohan wondering if it was a good idea to get rid of his tail so soon, because they also have full-on control of their Ozarus a long time ago, leaving them with a lot of popular things. Now, a lot of times they would just be going crime fighting between classes or after school, just having a fun time with celebrity, paparazzi. Pepper wouldn't understand it much, but she would be fine with it as they would get their training in. Thinking that's training. I would just see that as, right, that's just the anime influence. Delta would be enjoying it, seeing that his kids would be having a good time from before, when they were starving orphans, to now just having a great family, friends, and a school life. With a lot of the kids being smart, very smart, Gohan would be one of the very smart kids, and the school's average of IQ would go up because a lot of the kids would be wanting to try and study. Now, for Vegeta, this is where things get interesting. Vegeta would, having been humiliated multiple times, go even further into his training. He would see that me and Pepper mastered our Ozaru and were able to use it in a human form, and think, if I can just combine that power with Super Saiyan, I could become way more powerful. So in this year, he'd be a lot more harsh and training even harder than ever before, for a little surprise in the future. Now, we would get into the Majin Buu saga. Things would go about the same as always. The tournament would come up, but me and Delta not really caring for martial arts like as much, we wouldn't be participating. We'd just be watching, knowing that the Spopovich and Yama were going to appear eventually soon anyways, so we thought we'd let this go on the same way. Goku would be a lot more powerful, mastering his Super Saiyan 2 rather than learning Super Saiyan 3. And Gohan would have some training because his friends are also very powerful, so he would be like, keeping up with his training. And because Chi-Chi sees that all these kids are very smart but also powerful, would allow him to train with their friends, because training and studying is like all important, mind, body, and soul. Gohan would still turn Super Saiyan, where Spopovich and Yamu would take his energy and flee. This is where we just go off and the same way allow the cast to go while we just watch this face forward. Things would go about the same until we get to like Dabura, where Gohan actually defeats him, and this is where we would get to like Majin Vegeta, but with a twist. This Vegeta would be way more powerful because he would unleash Super Saiyan 4. That's right, Super Saiyan 4. This Vegeta was training and mastered his Ozuru, Godozuru, and became Super Saiyan 4. He would beeline it straight for, Delta. And the same exact scene would happen in the ring, where he blows up a lot of the crowd, and a lot of it was near Luna and Zena. This would cause Delta to be enraged, where Babidi would see and find that he would get energy from him too, and then unlocks it, and then takes him and gets Majin Delta. Yeah, Golden Namekian Majin Delta, and then they start like fighting, which causes like the energy to go off immediately. But Goku would think this is, I'll try and stop them, but Goku would think this is fine, which would only cause Delta to charge at Goku and start wailing at him, telling him that you're going to let innocent people get hurt just for your violent tendencies. And he tells them, but this is how Saiyans are. And they're like, no, this is not how Saiyans are. This is how Saiyans got destroyed. You were violent criminals, and you only paid for your own crimes. Then Vegeta beelines it for me, so we start a fight. And he tells me, now that I've become more powerful than you, I can destroy you. Me and Shock, taking the first few attacks, decide, fine, I'm going to power up. Powers up not just to Super Saiyan God, but Super Saiyan Blue. And this is where I just start wailing at Vegeta, trying to get him to understand that his way of life is not good. Vegeta doesn't want to hear it and continues the fight. Now this is where Majin Buu immediately just gets released. Delta telling the same thing to Goku, thinking that they're innocent lives. Even if you don't care about them, we do. Goku would be like taken down like the first, which would leave him down and out. And then we go to Majin Buu facing off against Gohan and co. The kids are trying to face him off, where we're telling Aura and Starry not to hurt him, but Gohan deciding that that's not a problem for him, would immediately fight Majin Buu and start getting wailed on. Supreme Kai, thinking that this is dangerous, would take Gohan and the kids and teleport them off to Supreme Kai's planet. We would finish. I would finish my fight with Vegeta by showing him that you're not even close to my league, transforming to Super Saiyan Blue Mastered, and I would just one-shot Vegeta. And before he passes out, tell him, this is not the proper path, Vegeta. You've seen that no matter how hard you try, you will never defeat me. And where Vegeta finally releases like one more explosion, trying to destroy me, Delta, Majin Buu, and the planet, where we would teleport him off world, where he just explodes the old Namekian world, turning it into dust before we teleport away. Majin Buu still left here. We're thinking we have to handle him now, and Delta, his mind is in pain right now, thinking that the Majin mark is making me think of my worst impulses. And I think, all right, you take on Majin Buu, I'll finish off Babidi. Where I find Babidi, I instantly wipe him off the face of the world, releasing the Majin marks. And this is where me and Delta think this Majin Buu is like a lot more violent right now. So we think, okay, it's time. We have to use that move we were training for. This is where we both put our hands on and think Force Spirit Vision and rip out Evil Buu from Majin Buu. And then we just blast Evil Buu away almost instantly, completing the arc. And then I tell Buu, wait. And I bring out my giant fridge of delicious food, and I show him. And it's like, if you're good, we'll give you all the food and candy that you want. Instantly switching Majin Buu to the good side. It's like, hooray! And this is where Majin Buu becomes our friends. Now on Supreme Kai's planet, a lot of the events would go the same way, breaking the Z Sword and everything like that. This will release Elder Kai, and seeing a lot more pretty girls in it, Aura would immediately kick him in the face, saying, my big brother told me that there's a weird old man, you kick him in the face. Elder Kai's like, oh, so annoying. And this is where he offers to unlock all the kids' potentials. And they think, yes, they would have all their potentials unlocked. So we would have, Mystic Gohan, Ultimate Magical Girl Aura, Super Magician Starry, and then Mystic Humans Luna and Zena. They would be a lot more powerful. They would be in their super eras of power. And I'll tell Aura, it's like, talk to my brother, that he wanted this too. Same with Delta. So they would immediately I'll teleport to Supreme Kai's planet and tell him, hey, how's it going? How's the kids doing? And tell them, oh yeah, Majin Buu is taken care of. They'd be shocked, and I'm like, yeah, as payment, we want our potentials unlocked too. So we can get Mystic Sprout and Mystic Delta, raising our power even further, knowing that we could go even further beyond. But this would actually awaken Beerus way sooner than we would have realized. So we move on to the Super Saga a couple months later. Majin Buu is a lot cool with us, so we can train with him all we want. The kids are way more powerful, and Vegeta finally learns his lesson after being revived that his way was wrong and turns into a better person, more into his super self, except that has Super Saiyan 4, so he's way more powerful. He also apologizes for what he's done and decides to train with us. So now we can train with him and Goku, but before we know it, Beerus would appear. Beerus would see so many interesting powers and would decide that he wants a rival. I tell him, I'm like, all right, you want Super Saiyan God, and Vegeta's like, Super Saiyan God? Oh, that thing you turned into a decade ago? Beerus is like, wait, how do you know that? I'm like, I just know. I'm like, my friend's a Namekian. He knew about it from the Namekian Book of Legends. And Delta's nodding his head while sweating, thinking that this is too soon. We are prepared to face Beerus, but it's just too soon. Pepper would be wondering what's that big cat doing here, and we would see that this fridge had unlimited food, and we just give them as much food as they want. However, after the food, Beerus would still be wanting to face a Super Saiyan God, and that's why I tell him, well, how about Vegeta? Vegeta's like, wait, why me? I tell him, well, you have shown that you've become a good person, so it's finally time to give you the power that a good person can have. Vegeta thinks, alright, thanks. And this is where we perform the Super Saiyan God ritual, and Vegeta becomes Super Saiyan God. But this power gets put into his Super Saiyan 4 form, which is even more powerful. I'd say he's at least Super Saiyan Blue, maybe Super Saiyan Blue Mastered leveled, and he would face off against Beerus. They'd have an amazing fight. They would clash around the planet, while we would just be protecting the planets by erecting barriers and, stopping any stray damage going on. Beerus would be having the time of his life, seeing that Vegeta, the scrawny little prince, has actually grown into a very powerful warrior. Goku, wanting to join in on this fight, would ask, can we do the ritual with us as well? And we think, sure, go ahead. Where Goku joins in, and he also becomes super powerful with Super Saiyan God. Not as powerful as Vegeta, but he would have they would team up against Beerus and have a great time facing Beerus with ease. Beerus having a fantastic time, but honestly only using 50 to 60% of his real power. Tells them, okay, who else can I face? He looks at Piccolo and Delta and thinks, how about you two? And I'm sure you're holding something back from me. Piccolo, thinking this is my chance, and turns into orange. I'd say he'd do around the same amount of damage as Goku, but not like fully because he hasn't been training completely. Then he would look to Delta, and Delta's thinking, I don't want to. You're gonna destroy everything. But Deers is like, do it or I will destroy everything. I put my hand on his shoulder, thinking, come on, buddy, let's just do this and give him what he wants. And I pull out this special Protara earrings. That's right, we're going to get a fusion. Me and Delta fuse into a super Namekian orange god, Devon. Like, we would instantly power up to an orange like, aura boosted mastered Super Saiyan blue, and we would instantly just wail on Beerus so fast and so hard that it would knock him out, even with him using Hakai energy, as we already know what type of power this is. We would just wail on him harder and harder until we, like, telling him like everything we know, how he told Frieza to blow up the planet, he sealed Elder Kai, he destroys planets and everything like that. And this is where Beerus gets defeated. Whis has to jump in to stop the fight and stop the battle. Beerus waking up thinking, oh, finally, some rivals I can actually have fun with. And then thanks us for the great experience, because we heal him afterwards. But Beerus says, why are you here? You're outsiders from this universe. And we tell him, we have no idea. But we're enjoying our lives here, and we don't want it to stop. Beerus thinking, all right, I guess, and asks the dragon to give him a fridge just like mine, and they head off, ending Battle of Gods. Now we're also going to skip Frieza saga because he was destroyed a long time ago, and even if his soldiers grabbed him, the same amount of training would lead to nothing. We would instantly teleport to his area and just destroy him. We wouldn't allow him to return or anything. So we'll get into the Universe 6 tournament, because that's a quick one as well. Me and Delta and the kids, nobody wants to go, so we just let the original cast deal with things. We tell them, if you see someone that looks like Frieza, he's a bad guy, so just defeat him. A lot of the events would take place, except that Goku would just immediately solo all the tournament because he'd be way more powerful in this story, having trained with like Beerus and Whis with a stronger Vegeta. And then with us as well, leaving him as the sole victor. Now you're wondering why I didn't want to be in the Universe 6 tournament, because that's where Goku Black appears. Because Zamasu was watching the tournament. Trunks in the future was already set for this. We told him, if you see a guy that looks like Goku Black, destroy him. But I also left another note stating, go find Master Roshi and learn the Mafuba. And once he destroys like Goku Black instantly by powering up to Super Saiyan Blue, which would be funny because he already has blue hair, and just wipes him out immediately because Goku Black hasn't begun to train yet, and this Trunks is way more powerful, having like Supreme Kai training, Super Saiyan God mastered, and all that stuff. He would instantly wipe him out, leaving to no Zamasu arc. The Zamasu wish for immortality would appear, thinking that this is well, you can't beat me, and this is where Trunks switches up and uses Mafuba, completely sealing future Zamasu as well. I told him if they appeared, come back in time. And then he shows me, he would like show the proof of what he faced off with, and then we would go to Gowasu and save his life and end Zamasu, ending the entire story from ever happening. So there'd be no Zamasu arc. Now we got through a lot of things, so the next part will be a fun one. It will be the Tournament of Power, and we're going to have so much fun with this, going through this, Moro, Granola, and the Broly arc in quick succession, because as well as superheroes, because a lot of this story can be pretty much steamrolled and done in like a quick process. So the next part will probably be the second to last part or the last part of What If I Was Reborn as a Saiyan. Thanks for listening.